Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah Rubright. I am one of the EOF counselors here at Rutgers Camden. We missed you at Summer Institute orientation, but we wanted to make sure that we got you some more information from that day and make sure that we get you up to speed with us. So today, in this presentation, we'll be talking about minding the gap, really some expectations of the Summer Institute and beyond. So some things that we're going to talk about in this presentation is aspects of the transition from high school to college, identifying some fears or questions that you may have. Obviously, this is a recorded presentation, so we won't be able to do that in real live time. However, please know that you are encouraged to reach out to myself, Mrs. Waters, or Dr. Mayers at any time if you have questions or concerns. We'll talk about ways to develop a college mindset and then some responsibilities and expectations of being a college student. So mind the gap is the presentation name, right? And so this is a term that you may hear on train platforms all over the world where they will say, mind the gap, please. And they're asking you to be mindful of the space between the platform and the train that you're about to get on. Sometimes that can be somewhat of a large gap, as you can see. And so they want you to be mindful of that. It's the same for us. We want you to be mindful of the space between where you are and your collegiate journey, right? We're in this sort of middle space right now. We're about to approach it, which is the Summer Institute, in my opinion, right? It's a space between where you are graduating high school and your collegiate career to come. And so we're going to talk about ways to navigate that. So at this point, I would check in and just see how you all are doing. And how you're feeling towards the Summer Institute. However, since this isn't live, please don't hesitate to reach out to us with questions or feelings or excitements or concerns that you have. So facing the gap, just a few points, right? The adjustment from high school to college can be difficult. Please don't think that you are alone in this feeling. Sometimes I think that during COVID life, we've gotten really used to being isolated, and that can also lead to us thinking that our feelings are ours alone and we're alone in those feelings. You feeling nervous is probably a good thing, right? It means that you care about what you're about to embark on. College allows you to gain a sense of what it's like to be an adult, and that's in quotation marks because many of you, if not all of you, have lived full adult lives before this, and that this is not really new for you. It's just different, right? And so knowing that even though you may have had many adult responsibilities leading up to this point, I will say that it's different now because what's happening now is people around you are not going to be seeing you just as like a student or a child, right? They're going to be seeing you and viewing you and perceiving you as an adult. So those expectations of you are going to be a little bit different. College allows you to take full ownership of this too, right? Of who you want to become, what responsibilities you have, the decisions that you make, the time that you're investing. And also, of course, be prepared to hear that this isn't high school, right? So many times this usually happens when somebody in your class might raise their hand and ask to use the restroom, right? Your teacher's going to say, yeah, you have a question? They say, oh, I just want to use the restroom. And the professor is going to say, just get up and go. You don't have to ask. This isn't high school, right? And that's usually one of the first times that somebody, people from high school get the full feeling or the full idea that this really isn't high school and that this is a completely different environment, right? You're trusted in many more ways than you were probably in high school. The expectation is that, you're not abusing that trust. It's the expectation that you're showing up because you want to be there. And then, of course, probably the most important point is that what got you here won't get you there. We say this a lot. A lot of times you think that because you've gotten to this point, which is an incredible feat, right? Not to be diminished by any means whatsoever. Sometimes we think that those habits are going to continue to sustain us, but that's not necessarily true, right? The experiences and the habits and the discipline and the levels of intention that you had in high school are probably very different than what's going to be needed for college. But don't stress about that. We're here to help with that and help with that transition. So I won't go through all of these items. However, you can kind of skim through them as you wish. These are just some bullet points to highlight the differences between high school and college, right? So in high school, you usually have a very structured schedule, right? It's like you come in, you have homeroom, and then by the end of the day, you have your lunch, your first period, third period, second period, whatever it is, right? And then you end your day maybe like 2:30. So it's like 8 to 2:30. I don't know. In college, it's very different. It's not like that whatsoever. You may have full gaps of time in your schedule that are like from 12 to 3:30, right? So you may have a class at like 10 a.m. to 12 and have a big gap, and then you may have another class like 3:30 to 6. Right. These things can be very varied. And your schedule is going to be probably pretty unique to you. So it's a very different experience in terms of how much time you have and how important it is to manage your own time. You probably hear the word or the term time management a lot. If you haven't, you'll hear it a lot now. We talk about time management a lot because it's essential in thriving in college. Your schedule looks like you have a lot of free time, but in reality, the expectation is that your class time, you might have like 10 hours worth of classes a week, but that you're studying like 25 to 30 hours a week. And that brings us to the point of, we say that college is like a full-time job, right? So even though you may look like you have a very lax schedule, the level of work and intensity that goes into those classes in order to succeed is much higher and is going to take up time, right? The other cool thing that I think is to note is that teachers in high school usually are, engaged in learning about what's in the textbook in order to teach you certain content, right? They might have some experiences outside of the classroom related, but ultimately they're taught to be teachers, right? Teachers and professors in college, those are experts that are trained in a specific field, a specific area of research. We're a research institution, meaning Rutgers University is a research institution. That means we hold a lot of value on those actual pieces of, outside of the classroom experience and research and engagement in that level. That's a really unique opportunity because you can know that all of the classes that you're being taught, the people who are teaching them have had that real life experience outside of the classroom. So it's a great way for you to make connections based on like what you want to do, what your major is, what your interests are, or helping figure that out, right? So again, these are just a few of the bullet points that were worth highlighting. We won't go through all of these, but feel free to, pause this, look at them, read through, and think about them. And if you have questions, again, let us know. So how do we utilize this gap, right? We'll go over these 5 bullet points a little bit more in depth. So taking control of your own education, going into the Summer Institute, knowing that you're going to need to get to know your resources, right? Get comfortable with being uncomfortable, taking control of your time, and then using this time to be in a college mindset. So owning this experience, what does that mean? It means you chose this, right? Hopefully nobody has forced you into this situation. But ultimately you chose this and you chose to be here. And so make sure that you are getting out of this experience what you need, right? We'll talk a lot about self-advocacy over the next couple of years. It's so important to not wait on other people, right? This is an experience that requires your time and attention. Therefore, everything else deserves time and attention, right? So you deserve the time and attention back, right? Is what I'm saying. So please don't wait around for like answers or asking for help. Reach out and say, hey, I need help, right? Don't wait for things to get bad. Go into the Summer Institute with the intent to build relationships. This is a really unique experience because your staff, your faculty, peer coaches, facilitators, they are really giving you their undivided attention, right? During the fall and the spring semester, there's like thousands more students on campus that people engage with on a regular basis. And so during the summertime, this is a really cool experience where you get to have almost like a 1-to-1 ratio of attention. So make use of that, right? Get to know these people. Get comfortable with being uncomfortable, right? So this is really about asking for help. I don't think anybody likes to ask for help. I think it's just like a human thing. Maybe just in the United States, we were just taught, don't ask for help, just get it done yourself, right? But in college, asking for help is not a choice. It is a necessity. You have to ask for help in order to survive, but also thrive in this experience. You are depriving yourself of success if you do not ask for help. It doesn't mean that you're weak if you ask for help. It doesn't mean you can't do it. We know that you can. It's just that you don't have to do it alone. And in fact, it's going to be better if you don't do it alone, right? We're here for you. Take control of your time. Again, time management. This is the second time you've heard this today, and you will hear it many more times to come. It is so important to find systems that work for you. Not every kind of time management technique or tip is going to work for you, but you have to find which one does, right? Building better habits now is going to help you so much in the fall and spring semesters. So use this as it's like a rehearsal. It's a dress rehearsal, right? It's really real because you are taking classes that will go towards your GPA and your college credits, but really use this as a time to kind of figure out what is it going to take for you to stay organized and manage your time well. And then building a college mindset, right? Building a college mindset is so important. Remember, you are a whole adult, right? Even if you don't feel like it, you are. I promise you, you've made it to this point. You've gotten here. You have gotten yourself here. And now the whole university, everybody involved in the university is going to perceive you as a whole adult. So what does your space look like right now, right? A lot of the Summer Institute is virtual. And so do you know where you're going to be working while you're virtual, right? Is it your bedroom? Is it your kitchen table? Is it a Starbucks nearby? Is it a public library nearby, right? Think about what that looks like for you so that you can plan accordingly. Get that space ready. And know that you're a part of a community, right? Again, you can do this by yourself, but it's not going to be nearly as good and nearly as successful if you do it by yourself. We are all here for you. And this is a community. Rutgers-Camden especially is such a community of people. Lean into that. And then keeping your goals in sight. Something that we say a lot is that we can't want this more than you do, right? You have to want this very much so, and we will help you develop goals, but we can't help you constantly maintain those goals and keep them in sight for you. You have to do that too. And finally, know that you're in a state of becoming, right? We are not looking for perfect people. Perfect people do not exist. We are all about progress. We're all about development, and we're all about becoming. So know that that is okay. If you do not feel perfect, if you're confused, that's okay. Just talk to us. We don't expect you to have it all together. So I said earlier, you're a whole adult, right? So whole adult expectations. Some responsibilities and expectations that we have for you for this kickoff weekend coming up is that during the kickoff weekend, you will abide by all housing policies, or you will be dismissed from the program, dismissed from housing. And that also means that if you are dismissed from the program, your university acceptance will be rescinded. You'll be reconsidered for regular admission, but that is not a guarantee that you'll be readmitted, right? So this is a very serious thing that you take this time seriously. This is not a weekend getaway. This is not a big party, right? This means that you need to take this seriously and engage in a respectful, professional manner, right? Be yourself, be a student, but this is not strictly for fun, right? Guests in housing are not allowed. You cannot select your roommates, and a curfew will be enforced. So what time is curfew? 11 p.m. You'll be required to be inside the residence hall by 11 p.m. each night of the kickoff weekend. That means in the building, right? We will hopefully be having a sign-in sheet, like a check-in and check-out sheet at the front desk as you go through the building. But please know that there will be a curfew enforced. And actually, one more thing, back to this curfew, right? Probably like, oh my gosh, a curfew. But the curfew is enforced for safety, right? That's not to say that Rutgers-Camden and the area around us is an unsafe place. We are actually the safest campus statistically. It's been proven year after year. We're much safer than several campuses in Philly, but we are certainly the safest campus in the Rutgers University community between New Brunswick, Newark, and Camden. It is to say that this is a new experience for you. We don't want students like running around, hopping on the Patco to Philly at like 1 a.m, right? That might be tempting, but we want to enforce this curfew to make sure that everybody is safe. Everybody has a fun, engaging weekend full of building relationships, development, all of that kind of stuff, getting you ready. But we don't want people to be tempted with things that are going to inhibit your safety, right? So this curfew is for the safety of everybody involved. There is not curfews if you live on campus regularly, but for this weekend, we just want to make sure that everybody is safe and we're creating a safe and respectful environment. So again, In anticipation of the kickoff weekend, familiarize yourself with the code of conduct, the on-campus living guide. Those are things provided by Rutgers Housing. Bullying and harassment and Title IX policies. We'll go over that in a little bit more depth. And then special requirements for the program for us. So here's just a list of violations and procedures, right? So there's level 1 violations, there's level 2 violations. You can see that level 1 violations are a little bit less serious, but there's still violations, right? Level 2 violations are a little bit more intense, right? So level 1 being like missing things or being late or disturbances. Level 2 being more things like acts of violence or violating Title IX policies, possession of a weapon, alcohol or drugs is a 0 alcohol and drug tolerance policy in housing. Harassment, intimidation, whether that's physical, verbal, virtual, right? And then failure to return to housing, right, in terms of the curfew. So what is Title IX? If you're not familiar with Title IX, essentially it is a very short but very specific piece of legislation that is dedicated to not inhibiting or protecting anyone on the basis of sexual violence or sexual harassment performed against them, right? So there will be no discrimination against said individual who reports sexual violence or sexual harassment against them. And so this includes really anything that you can think of, right? We have a lot of support on our campus for Title IX and upholding Title IX policies. We have a VPVA office, which stands for Violence Prevention and Victim Assistance, and the director of that is Laura Luciano. And she's wonderful, and she's wholly supports our students and tries her best to keep them safe through programming, preventative, and reactive, and policies and procedures and education. So ultimately, if something happens and you are uncomfortable, confused, unsure, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We will absolutely always do our best to protect the students that harm was done to, right? So anything big or small, don't ever hesitate to reach out to us, and we will help figure out if it falls under Title IX. But again, if you are a student who is violating a Title IX policy, then you will be dismissed from housing, from our program, and likely the university. So some more responsibilities and expectations of the Summer Institute. Again, the Summer Institute is an opportunity for you to really take advantage of. This is a free program for the summer, and you will be able to take up to 7 credits, which is like 2 courses, maybe a 4-credit course and a 3-credit course. Most of you will probably be taking 2 3-credit courses, but again, that's up to 7 credits total, and that will count towards your graduation, and you will leave this with a GPA. So you'll start the fall semester with a GPA. You'll have virtual classes and requirements 5 days a week, right? So whether it's a class, whether it's a peer coach program, whether it's a meeting with your EOF counselor, you will have things 5 days a week, very likely. We will be giving out your schedules very shortly, and so please make sure that you're reviewing those and are planning accordingly to be a part of everything that's on that schedule. Please remember that all parts of the Summer Institute are mandatory, right? This is not an optional thing. If you are no longer interested in participating in the Summer Institute, that means that you're no longer interested in participating in EOF, right? Which means, again, that your admittance to the university will be rescinded and re-administered for regular admission, which is not a guarantee. So if you are not a part of the EOF program, you will likely receive several, if not all, of the same financial aid generally, except for the EOF grant, which is something that we give every single semester. So please, take this seriously. Again, it's a program. It's not just like oh, you were admitted and this and the other, right? It is a program, and we want your engagement because there's a lot to benefit from this program. So that was a lot of information, and I'm here just talking to myself. I know it was a lot. Again, if you have questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. This is also the list of peer coaches that will be working with you this summer, so please don't hesitate to reach out to them as well. Their contact information will be shared shortly, if not already. So please make sure that you are talking to them as well as us, right? They are student assistants or student leaders that are going to help us facilitate this program, and they've had a lot of similar experiences as you, so lean into them as well. And then to close out with a quote from our good old Auntie Michelle, Please, please, please do not be afraid to ask for help. Nobody gets through college on their own. She said it, so it's true. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us. This is our contact information. Myself and Mrs. Caroline Waters, who is our other EOF counselor, and Dr. Randy Mayers, you should have been receiving many, many, many emails from already. So please make sure to be checking your email. And if you need anything, don't hesitate to reach out. Reach out sooner than later. Don't wait on it. We're here for you. So thank you for listening and engaging in this content. I hope that you are excited as I am, and I can't wait to work with you all. See you soon.